The text came in at 7:43 on a Thursday morning. Can you pick up Aunt Linda from the airport? Your brother's got that thing. I stared at my phone, still half asleep, coffee getting cold in my hand. That thing. My brother Tyler's thing was a golf tournament, not a work emergency, not a family crisis. Golf. I texted back, "What time?" The response came immediately. 11. Flight gets in at noon. You're a lifesaver. No question mark. No, are you free? Just the assumption that I would drop everything, rearrange my day, because Tyler wanted to play 18 holes. I sat there in my tiny apartment, the one I'd moved into 6 months ago after finally getting out of my parents' house at 28, the place where I was supposed to be building my life. And here it was again, that familiar pull, that gravity of family obligation that didn't ask, it just expected. "I'm working," I typed. "Can't Tyler reschedule?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. It's a tournament. He can't just skip it. Come on, it's just a few hours. Just a few hours. That's what it always was. Just a quick favor. Just this once. Just. Until my entire life became a series of just this one things that were never just one thing. But here's what they didn't say. Tyler had known about this tournament for 2 months. 2 months. And somehow, at 7:43 a.m., it became my emergency. I picked up Aunt Linda. Of course I did. Old habits, you know. They don't die. They just quietly strangle you while you smile and say it's fine. Linda talked the entire drive home, about her garden, about her neighbor's cat, about a sale at Macy's. And then, casually, like she was commenting on the weather, she said, "Your mom mentioned you've been distant lately." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Distant. That was the word they'd chosen. Not busy, not independent. Distant. Like I was the problem because I'd stopped orbiting around their needs. "I've just been focused on work," I said carefully. She hummed. "Well, family comes first, you know. Always has, always will." I didn't respond. What could I say? That family coming first had meant my life came last? That I'd spent years being the emergency contact, the backup plan, the one who would drop everything while everyone else lived their lives? That night, my mom called. "Thanks for getting Linda," she said. "I knew we could count on you." There it was. That phrase, count on you. It used to feel good, being dependable, being the one people turned to. Now it just felt like a job I never applied for and couldn't quit. "Tyler owes me," I said. She laughed. "Oh, you know Tyler, he's just busy. That magic word that excused him from everything while somehow making me more available. The pattern continued. My dad's car broke down. Could I drive him to work? My cousin needed someone to watch her kids. Was I free Saturday? My brother forgot to pick up the cake for Mom's birthday. Could I swing by the bakery? Every single time I said yes. Every single time I rearranged my schedule, my plans, my life. And every single time, it was just this once. Until one Sunday. Family dinner. The whole crew gathered around my parents' table. The same table where I'd spent countless meals, where I'd celebrated holidays, where I'd become invisible. Tyler was talking about his new promotion, animated, proud. My parents were beaming. My dad clapped him on the shoulder. "That's my boy," he said. "Always knew you'd make something of yourself." I'd gotten a promotion too, 3 weeks ago. I'd mentioned it once, briefly, between the salad and the main course. My mom had said, "Oh, that's nice, honey," and then immediately asked Tyler about his golf handicap. That night, after dinner, I was in the kitchen washing dishes. Alone, like always. Tyler was in the living room, feet up, watching the game. My mom came in, started drying the plates. "You know," she said conversationally, "Tyler mentioned he might need help moving next month. I kept scrubbing." "Okay." I told him you'd probably be free to help. I stopped, put down the sponge, turned to look at her. "You told him I'd be free?" She shrugged. "You usually are." 4 words. You usually are. Like my time, my energy, my entire existence was just available, on standby, waiting for someone to need something. "What if I'm not?" I asked quietly. She laughed, a short, dismissive sound. "Don't be dramatic. It's just moving boxes." I dried my hands slowly, carefully. "When's he moving?" "The 15th. "That's the day of my work conference," I said. "The one I've been planning to attend for 6 months." My mom's face tightened. "Well, can't you skip it? Family's more important than some conference." And there it was. The script I'd heard my entire life. Family's more important, which really meant you're less important. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw it clearly for the first time. The way she genuinely believed that my life, my career, my goals were all negotiable, optional, something that could be postponed or canceled whenever someone else needed me. "No," I said, "I can't skip it." She blinked. "What?" "I'm not skipping my conference to help Tyler move. He's 32. He can hire movers." Her mouth fell open. "You're being selfish. Selfish. That word. The one they used like a weapon whenever I dared to prioritize myself." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe I'm just done being everyone's backup plan." I left that night. Didn't finish the dishes. Didn't say goodbye to everyone. Just grabbed my coat and walked out. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. The calls started the next day. My dad, trying to be reasonable. "You upset your mother." Tyler, annoyed. "It's just one day. Come on." My Aunt Linda, disappointed. "I thought you were more mature than this." I didn't answer most of them. The ones I did answer, I kept brief, polite, distant, that word again. But this time, I owned it. The conference was incredible. I networked, I learned. I met people who saw me as more than just a convenient favor. And on the 15th, while Tyler was moving with the professional movers he'd hired, I was sitting in a workshop on leadership development, taking notes, planning my future. My mom didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. When she finally called, her voice was cold. "I hope you're happy." "I am," I said, and I meant it. She hung up. But here's what happened next. And this is the part they never tell you about. The part where standing up for yourself doesn't immediately fix everything, where it actually gets harder before it gets easier. Thanksgiving was coming up. Every year it was at my parents' house. Every year I helped with everything. Shopping, cooking, setting up, cleaning. Every year I showed up early and left late, exhausted, while everyone else enjoyed the holiday. My mom called 3 weeks before. "We need to plan Thanksgiving." "Okay," I said neutrally. "Can you come over Tuesday to help prep the turkey?" "I'm working Tuesday." A pause. "Wednesday?" "I have plans Wednesday." Her voice sharpened. "What plans?" "Does it matter?" I asked gently. Silence. Then, "You know, ever since that conference, you've been different. Different. Not independent, not self-respecting. Different. Like I'd become someone unrecognizable just by saying no." "I have been different," I agreed. "I've been putting myself first for once." She scoffed. "That's not how family works." "Maybe not," I said, "but it's how I'm going to work from now on." Thanksgiving came. I showed up at 2 p.m., the time dinner was scheduled. Not early, not to help, just as a guest. My mom answered the door, her face tight. "Oh, you made it." "I brought wine," I said, holding up the bottle. Inside, chaos. The turkey wasn't ready. Side dishes were cold. My mom was frazzled, stressed, snapping at my dad. Tyler was on his phone, oblivious. I sat down in the living room, didn't offer to help, didn't jump up to fix things, just sat there. And it was hard. Every part of me wanted to rush into that kitchen, take over, make it better. That's who I'd been for so long. But I didn't. I sat, and I waited. My mom came out, flour on her apron, frustration in her eyes. "Are you just going to sit there?" I looked up. "Is there something you need help with?" She gestured wildly toward the kitchen. "Obviously." "Then ask," I said calmly. "Ask me for help. She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. What? If you need my help, ask me. Don't assume I'm just going to jump in. Treat me like an adult you're asking a favor from, not a servant. Her face went red. I can't believe... You're being ridiculous. I stood up. Okay, then I'll go. Tyler looked up from his phone. Whoa, what's happening? I'm leaving, I said, because apparently expecting to be asked instead of commanded is ridiculous. My dad finally spoke up. Let's everyone just calm down. I am calm, I said, but I'm done being the only one who has to bend. I came here as a guest, ready to enjoy a holiday with my family. If that's not enough, if you need a worker instead of a daughter, then I'm the wrong person. I walked toward the door. My mom's voice followed me. You're ruining Thanksgiving. I turned back. No, I said quietly. I'm just not saving it for you. I spent Thanksgiving alone that year, ordered Chinese food, watched movies, and honestly, it was the most peaceful holiday I'd had in years. The guilt came later, of course, late at night when I wondered if I'd been too harsh, too cold, too selfish. That word haunted me. I'd lie there in the dark, replaying the moment, my mom's face, the disappointment, the way my dad had looked at me like I was a stranger, and I'd think, maybe I was wrong. Maybe family is supposed to come first. Maybe I was being the difficult one. But then morning would come, and I'd wake up in my own space, in my own bed, without that familiar knot of dread in my stomach. The knot that came from knowing that at any moment my phone could buzz with another need, another emergency that was never really an emergency. I started noticing things I'd never noticed before, like how I'd stopped making plans on weekends because I knew, inevitably, someone would need something. How I'd turned down job opportunities because they required travel. And what if my family needed me? How I dated people who were okay with me canceling last minute because deep down I believed that was all I deserved. I'd made myself so small, so available, so borrowed. There was this moment about 3 weeks after Thanksgiving. I was at a coffee shop working on my laptop and my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but I did. It was my high school friend Jessica. We'd lost touch years ago, and she'd tracked me down through social media. She was in town for work and wanted to grab dinner. That night, old me would have checked my phone first, made sure no one in my family needed anything, made sure I wasn't accidentally double booking myself for some potential favor. New me said yes immediately. We met at this little Italian place downtown. And over pasta and wine, Jessica said something that stuck with me. She said, "You seem lighter, like you've been carrying something heavy and finally put it down." And she was right. I had been carrying something. The weight of everyone else's expectations, the burden of being perpetually available, the exhausting performance of being the good daughter, the reliable sister, the one who never complained, never said no, never prioritized herself. I told her everything. About the airport pickup, about Thanksgiving, about the years of being the family's Swiss Army knife, useful for whatever needed fixing. Jessica listened, and then she said, "You know what's wild? I remember you in high school. You were so vibrant, so full of plans and dreams, and then somewhere along the way you just dimmed. I always wondered what happened. I knew what happened. I'd learned that being needed felt like being loved, that making myself indispensable meant I mattered, that if I just gave enough, sacrificed enough, bent enough, I'd finally be seen. But the opposite happened. The more I gave, the more invisible I became, until I was just a function, a role, the helper, the fixer, the borrowed daughter they could use when convenient. Jessica raised her glass. "To the old you coming back," she said. We clinked glasses, but I shook my head. "Not the old me," I said. "Someone new, someone better." Because I wasn't going back to who I was before I learned to set boundaries. I was becoming someone who knew her worth, who didn't need to earn love through service, who understood that real connection came from choice, not obligation. That dinner changed something in me. The guilt started to fade, replaced by something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not the arrogant kind, the quiet kind. The kind that comes from knowing you respected yourself enough to walk away from what was hurting you. But then I'd remember. All those times I'd canceled my plans, all those conferences I'd skipped, all those moments when my life took a back seat to someone else's minor inconvenience, all those dates I'd cut short because my dad needed help with his computer, all those friendships that faded because I was always too busy being available for family, all those dreams I'd postponed because, well, someone needed me more, and the guilt would fade, replaced by something stronger. Self-respect. Christmas was different. My mom called 2 weeks before. "We're doing Christmas Eve at the house. You're coming, right? Am I invited?" I asked. A pause. "Of course you're invited. You're family. Then yes, I'll be there. Should I plan on you helping with anything?" Her voice was uncertain, almost vulnerable. "If you need help," I said, "I'm happy to contribute. Just let me know what you need and when." She was quiet for a moment. "Okay, could you maybe bring a dessert?" "I'd love to," I said, and just like that, a shift, small, but real. Christmas Eve, I showed up with a homemade pie. My mom hugged me at the door, stiff but genuine. The house was decorated. Dinner was mostly ready. Tyler had even set the table. We sat down together. My dad said grace, like always. But this time, when he got to the part about being thankful for family, he looked at me, really looked at me. And I think, for the first time, he saw someone who wasn't just there, someone who'd chosen to be there. After dinner, my mom and I were in the kitchen, just the two of us. She was washing. I was drying. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly, for taking you for granted." I stopped, dish towel in hand. "Thank you." She didn't look at me. You were always so helpful, so capable. I guess I forgot you had a choice." "I do," I said softly, "and I'm choosing to be here, but I need you to see that. The choice." She nodded, wiped her eyes quickly with the back of her hand. "I see it now. It wasn't perfect after that. Old habits don't disappear overnight." There were still moments when my mom would start to assume, when Tyler would text expecting immediate help, when my dad would hint instead of ask. The first few months were the hardest. Every time I said no, I felt like I was ripping off a Band-Aid. My mom would call with that tone in her voice, the one that said she was disappointed before she even asked. Tyler would send those texts that were phrased as questions, but felt like commands. My dad would go silent, which somehow felt worse than anger. There was this one Saturday in January. My mom called about helping her organize the garage. "Just a few hours," she said. "I'm drowning in boxes." I had plans. Actual plans. A painting class I'd signed up for weeks ago, something I'd wanted to do for years but never had time for because, well, you know. "I can't today," I said. "I have plans." The pause was heavy. What kind of plans? And there it was, the implication that my plans couldn't possibly be as important as her garage, that whatever I was doing was negotiable, postponable, less than. Old me would have caved, would have said, "You know what, I can reschedule," would have shown up with a smile and spent 6 hours sorting through boxes while she chatted on the phone with her friends. New me took a breath. "I'm taking a painting class." "A painting class?" She laughed. Can't you do that anytime?" "No," I said firmly. "It's today at 2, and I'm going." She huffed. "Well, I guess I'll just do it myself then." "I'm sure you will," I said, "and you'll do a great job." I hung up, and I went to that painting class, and it was wonderful, messy and imperfect and completely mine. I painted this abstract thing that looked like a sunset melting into the ocean, and it was terrible. But I didn't care, because I was there. I'd chosen it. I'd chosen me. My mom didn't speak to me for a week after that, and you know what? That week was peaceful, but each time I held my boundary, gently, firmly, kindly, and slowly. They learned. They learned to ask, to appreciate, to see me as a person with my own life, not just an extension of theirs. Last month, Tyler called. "Hey," he said, "I know it's last minute, but I've got this thing, and I was wondering, if you're free, if you could maybe help me out?" "What do you need?" I asked. "Airport pickup. But if you're busy, totally get it. I can grab an Uber." I smiled. "What time? Seriously?" "Seriously. I'm free. Man, thanks. I owe you." And you know what? He actually did owe me. And for the first time, he acknowledged it. People ask me sometimes if it was worth it. Worth the conflict, the guilt, the awkward holidays. Worth risking my relationship with my family just to stand up for myself. And I tell them this: I didn't risk my relationship with my family. I saved it. Because the relationship we had before, the one where I bent until I broke, where I gave until there was nothing left, where I smiled through resentment, that wasn't love. That was convenience. Now when my mom calls, I actually want to answer. When my family needs help, I want to give it. Not because I'm obligated, not because I'm afraid of being labeled selfish, but because I'm choosing it. And that choice, that freedom to say yes or no, that's what real family should feel like. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do isn't keeping the peace. It's disrupting it. It's saying no when everyone expects yes. It's choosing yourself even when it feels selfish. Because here's what I learned. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't love others well when you don't love yourself enough to set boundaries. And you can't build genuine relationships on the foundation of resentment and obligation. My family doesn't need me the way they used to. They want me. And that small difference, that shift from need to want, that changed everything. I'm not the borrowed daughter anymore. I'm not on loan, available whenever, returnable when convenient. I'm my own person. And I finally belong to myself first. And you know what? They respect me more for it. My dad asks my advice now, really asks, really listens. My mom shares things with me, real things, not just tasks. Tyler and I actually talk about life, about struggles, about more than just what I can do for him. We're building something new, something better, something real. And it started the moment I stopped being afraid to disappoint them and started being afraid of disappointing myself. So if you're reading this, if you're the one who always says yes, the one who drops everything, the one who bends until you break, I'm telling you this, you're allowed to choose yourself. You're allowed to be unavailable. You're allowed to have a life that isn't built around everyone else's needs. And the people who truly love you, they won't just accept that. They'll celebrate it. Because real love doesn't require you to be small. It doesn't ask you to disappear. It doesn't punish you for having boundaries. Real love makes space for you to be whole, fully, completely, unapologetically yourself. And that's worth fighting for. That's worth the awkward conversations and the tense holidays and the guilt that tries to pull you back. You're worth fighting for. I know that now, and I hope you know it too. Because you're not the backup plan. You're not the borrowed daughter or son. You're not the one who exists to make everyone else's life easier. You're the main character in your own story. And it's time you started acting like it.